We made a plea to the president once again. Don't hold millions of Americans, hundreds of thousands of workers hostage.
I'm very proud of doing what I'm doing. I don't call it a shutdown. I call it doing what you have to do for the benefit and for the safety of our country.
Senator Chuck Schumer and the president after yesterday's meeting on the government funding standoff. Let's bring in policy strategist Alina Beverly, former associate director for the White House Office of Urban Affairs under President Obama, Joe Watkins, former White House aide to President George H.W. Bush, and Republican strategist Rick Tyler, an MSNBC political analyst. Hello and Happy New Year to all of you. We're going to get right into it here.
Happy New Year, Alex.
Thank you, guys. Rick, to you first here. The president is also saying that he's prepared for this to go on for months, even a year, years. Is that a real possibility here?
I don't know about years. I think the Congress would decide to override him and reopen government because there's only so much of this they're going to take. But it could potentially go on for months. I've said that it probably will easily make the longest shutdown in history because Donald Trump has just so painted himself in the corner. But eventually the paint will dry and he'll walk himself out.
Okay. What about what the president said, Elena, floating bypassing Congress altogether, trying to declare a national emergency, get his border wall funding? Is that fair play?
It's not only is it not fair play, it's also probably not constitutional. I mean, this is not actually the way that the system is supposed to work in terms of policy. However, I will say that I think that this government shutdown is President Trump's Marie Antoinette moment, right, where he's saying that basically let them eat cake. While his cabinet members are receiving $10,000 annual raises, he's saying that the 800,000 federal employees who are affected by this shutdown should just tell their landlords to be easy and figure it out when it comes time to paying their utilities.
That is an interesting analogy there. First time I've heard that, but it certainly applies. What about you, Joe? Let's take a listen to what Senator Lindsey Graham said about the president's demand for border wall funding. Here it is.
If he gives in now, that's the end of 2019 in terms of him being an effective president. That's probably the end of his presidency.
Is that what this is about now, Joe? The president's fear of losing his base, the president just kind of riding off in the sunset and losing by a lot in 2020?
Well, I think Lindsey Graham is talking about the president trying to keep his base and, of course, mollify his base by doing this. But at the end of the day, it'd be much better if they had passed at least some kind of a short-term spending resolution to keep the government open and continue to work on the details of what border security might look like. This is tragic, by the way, for federal workers, and not just the 800,000 they're talked about, but also for contractors and grantees and all those people that have business with the government who are put off and delayed and not paid during this period of time. For those workers especially, this is tough because they've got mortgages to pay, they've got families to support, and this is just disastrous for them.
Well, for some, it's a question whether groceries will be on the table the next week because they live paycheck to paycheck. So, Elena, Nancy Pelosi's offer to the President Trump is nothing for the wall. Is there anything the White House, or Republicans for that matter, can do to try to get her to budge to some degree on that position? Or do you think she's serious about this? Absolutely nothing.
I think that she's serious about no. She's said no in so many ways for the last few days and weeks. She says no to the wall, but that is not no to border security. I think that the Democrats are interested in having border security. I think that there is a compromise that could be reached if we expand what is on the table. For example, if there are opportunities to reach a compromise and protections for dreamers, that might be a possibility. But there will be no wall, no euphemism for a wall, no alternative word for the wall. There will be no wall.
Okay. I do want to move to another headline this week and start with you, Rick, on this, with Mitt Romney's op-ed on the president's character, in which he declared that the president's conduct is evidence that the president has not risen to the mantle of the office. I mean, that statement is all the more striking as you've got some Democrats pushing for impeachment proceedings. How did you interpret that op-ed, Rick?
I think Mitt Romney's trying to carve a space for himself in case the president somehow doesn't finish his term. I'm a little bit cynical about it. I don't disagree with anything Mitt Romney wrote in his op-ed, except for his characterization of trade policy, which I think he's absolutely wrong about. But look, if Mitt Romney was just recently elected the senator from Arizona or the senator from Tennessee, he would not have written this op-ed. He's fortunate to have comes from the state of Utah, which is very conservative. He enjoys support there, but it's a state that doesn't like Trump as much, and so he's pretty safe in putting it out there.